hospitality management industry is alive and well, and we have Sheldene Matyczuk with us from Polytechnic. Thanks so much for coming to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
I want to talk about the program because it's fascinating when we look at what's happening in our city. Now over 300,000 population, and we have lots of conventions and tourism that's coming on board more so. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the program at Polytechnic.
All right, well, I started my career as a golf cart girl at the Willows Golf Country Club here in Saskatoon and fell in love with service mostly, and customer service and making people happy, whatever they were doing. So I ended up going to a similar program as ours in Nelson, British Columbia called at Selkirk College called Golf Course Management. Fell in love with the golf course and private clubs. And I graduated from there and was recruited to Vancouver and worked in some really high-end private clubs in Vancouver, and then eventually made my way back to Saskatchewan, working at Riverside Country Club as a food and beverage manager, and Boffin's Club when it was around as a food and beverage manager. I went back to the Willows a couple of times and did some events in food and beverage, and just really loved the industry of food and beverage specifically for me, and hospitality, and especially private clubs. I started to have children, and it's harder to work the hours that are required. Life gets a bit different, and a job opportunity came up at Sask Poly, and so I kind of just threw my name in. I always thought I wish I would have been a teacher, but I never did the education for that, and so kind of married the two things that I loved. I'm really passionate about like sharing service and our industry with people, and sending people out to do great things in our industry. So it's been a 10-year love affair now. I've been there. Our students have changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, even from when I started. And our industry has exponentially grown, especially here in Saskatoon. If we think about how many hotels have popped up in our city in the last 10 years, there's just so much opportunity and for people to work in our industry and send good people to them. So yeah.
How would you, just touched on that lightly in terms of the student population changing, how has it changed over the years?
When I first started, we had a pilot program going with a school in India from Chandigarh that would send second-year students to our program that took our first year in India and then would come here. And those were the first real international students that we started working with. To fast forward now 10 years into my position, I think that we have only 3-4 domestic born in Canada students, and the rest in a 24 intake are mostly international. And those international students, if you go anywhere to a hotel or lots of restaurants, or even if we talk about fast food or any of that, that's the majority of who's working in those roles now. And so yeah, it's changed a bit. I've learned a lot about all the different countries of the world and cultures, and it's been really great for me as well. But yeah.
And you get to showcase your own city as well when you have newcomers coming to
it's interesting teaching, because when I first started teaching, you could put a point of reference to things like, you know, you've been to the Cactus Club, and when they serve you this way, and everyone be what now 10 years later, a lot of people don't even know. They've only been here since September, so they don't have those point of references. So it's been fun figuring out how to teach and get people out to places. I partner with a friend of mine who's a GM at the Saskatoon Club, Sarah Bittner, and we bring students to her for a tour as well as a luncheon, so they get to see what service is like in a private club or in Canada even. Many of them have never eaten in a high-end restaurant, and let alone learn how to serve in a high-end restaurant. So we've had to be some creative, I guess, in coming up with ways to change our education. But it's been very successful, and many of our students, internationals, have gone on to work in front desk managers and those sorts of things, jobs right out of school. So
you mentioned 24. That's per year or per semester? Or?
Per year, we take 24 students.
Right.
It's a 2-year program, so yeah.
So at most, we're looking at 24 grads every 2 years.
Every year.
Every year.
Every year we graduate, hopefully 24.
Yeah.
Usually it gets to about 18 to 20. There's a little bit of fall off of, I didn't think this was what it was.
That's natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually we graduate 18 to 20. And yeah.
I think it's a testament to the success of what you're doing with the program, because it's almost seamless when you either go to a hotel or a club, that the way you're received and served comes from some basis. So thank you for maintaining those standards. Is there a drastic difference in what you're teaching, or what people would be experiencing between a private club and a hotel, or different hotels?
They're sort of different animals in the same thing. We all want to provide excellent service, but there's a different animal in the sense that a private club has a return customer. Hotels do as well, but a private club has the same amount of members that use the club on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make a mistake, that customer could be there tomorrow.
Understood. Yeah.
Right? Whereas in a hotel, often it's more transient, it's business travelers. They still want a higher level of service. But if you made a mistake, they're not going to come back the next day and tell you about it. Whereas in a private club, your members return on a daily basis, sometimes to the minute, at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So if your service levels both need to be elevated, but there's just a different level of service in a private club, I would say.
So that must be exciting for the college and you as an instructor, that even if you're looking at the convention center or the downtown event and entertainment district, trying to have some, I guess, catch basin of people who are ready to go with the expansion that's being planned. Are you thinking that there's a lot of uptake and impetus into more training, getting more people out there and ready for what's coming?
That's my hope. That keeps me engaged. Yeah. I think that our world has changed in a service perspective. With a lot of cell phones, people are more aware of not looking up to say hello.
Fair point. Yeah.
All of those little things that with phones have changed the way the service levels we expect and will appreciate. So I'm still old school. I still don't like to be with a group of friends and have everybody on the phone texting other people, or be at a dinner table.
While I'm in front of you. Exactly.
Right, while I'm in front of you. And I think that the youth and even our international students, they struggle. They've grown up that way, and so it doesn't seem rude to them.
Right.
And so that's one of the big things that I'm focusing on, is like trying to strip that back and bring back that service of like, no, you look at a person when you talk to them, and
you're kind of nice.
Yeah, right. And you smile and you're like engaged with them. It's because so many people get so used to the talking and looking down and not being a part of a conversation. So in service, that's one of my big issues in school even, is teaching those simple things that used to be so natural for us. Like even my son, who's going to be 16, he's not as good as interacting with people because he doesn't have to. He doesn't even know how to talk on the phone half the time, right? They don't do that anymore. So how do you answer a telephone properly?
Some etiquette that we grew up with is,
that we grew up with doesn't exist anymore, and so there's that part that I have to.
So what would the opportunities be for someone who is 16, 17, 20 years old right now? If they're watching, what would they expect to learn going to the school taking this class?
Well, I would say I know that many of my son's friends are all trying to get into university, and their parents want them to be in university, and I'm all for education. But most of my students, or most of my servers when I was in industry, had degrees in arts and science, and they were still working as servers for me. Anyways, so our opportunities are that there's amounts of growth that are insane right now. Our industry is, I won't say polluted, but there are many older people in our industry in those management roles that are looking to get out of, retire or ease out of work. And there are so many opportunities right now to grow very quickly. We've had people graduate that started as like a front desk person or the front desk manager, and then all of a sudden now they're sales directors and within hotels and that sort of stuff. So I think with the education at Sask Poly that we give in the hospitality management program, that gives you the opportunities, not necessarily maybe to get a manager's job right away, but if you get your foot in the door and start working and show a little bit of work ethic, the chance to move up the ladder is really quick.
Are you seeing that some of the students are staying in Saskatchewan? Do you keep track, or is there a way of saying, gosh, we had 24 this year and 20 graduated, 15 stayed in Saskatchewan? Is there some kind of a number like that you might know? Well,
on the international level, they have to stay for a certain amount of time to complete their PR.
Oh, okay.
And so I know that they stay for sure for that amount of time. I do know that many of them stay on after that. They've established themselves in life. There are the ones that want to move, you know, to Vancouver or Toronto or be where their families are, or those sorts of things. That does happen. I have seen lots of growth where they've gone to, we have a program at Royal Roads University where you can go and get a degree. After doing 2 years here, you go 2 years there and get a degree. And we've had many students that have gone that route and then stayed in BC or working at like Fairmont Properties downtown and Ritz-Carltons and those sorts of things after they graduate from that program. But I would say over 60–70% do end up staying in the province.
That's wonderful to hear that what you're instructing and the caliber of the student that's coming out of here can enter that international stage, and, you know, a little bit of help whatever country they go to. If someone watching wants to get a hold and find out more information, how would they reach out to you or the school to get that information?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm one of the instructors there. There's 2 others, but you can reach out to myself at matyczuk@saskpolytech.ca or our program head, Dean Hartsuk, at saskpolytech.ca.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming down and making this possible. Hopefully we'll garner some more support and keep this program going. It's wonderful news.
Thank you very much.
That's our show for today. I'd like to thank our guests, Sheldene Matyczuk as well as Shannon Jostel. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. We'll see you next time on Connect.